BXB. It's in the game!
Hey everyone, it's me Ben back with a proper quick review for you this time. Not one of my long-winded ones. This shall be a brief one, I promise. And this one is for King Art Games and THQ Nordic's The Dwarves, which is now available on PC, Xbox, etc, etc. The Dwarves is a fantasy action RPG that has been created off of a literary inspiration, so it's an adaptation of a previously existing source material, and that really shows because the Dwarves is split into two distinct parts. You have this sort of isometric top-down action RPG section, which involves lots of hacking and slashing and big power attacks. And the interesting thing with this is it has some MOBA inspiration, because the orcs that you're fighting as the Dwarves and other enemies as well come at you in large numbers, much like the creeps might in a MOBA. So you don't actually swing a weapon, you don't like actively attack. Your character, when you're controlling him, will just swing his basic attack at whatever's in front of him, and then you can trigger various special attacks that you get throughout the game. Now, on top of that mechanic, you have this sort of squad team mechanic with up to 15 different playable characters, which you get to be able to build a customized sort of team that you take into these battles. That's really cool. Actually, there's like a relationship factor to that as well, where you build like benefits from playing with the similar characters more often, and that builds like a camaraderie between the team that grows over the progress of the game. It takes a little bit of getting used to not actually actively controlling the attacks, especially for someone like myself who isn't a big MOBA player. But, I quite liked it. One of the weird things I did find, however, though, is you have to be very careful with your team management, because if just one of your guys goes down, if one person on the team dies, it's game over. And then it's a case of reloading a previous save. And that throws up a bit of a problem that we get here, at least in the Xbox version of the Dwarves. I suspect on PC it's less egregious, but load times in this game can be really protracted. I've sat on load screens where it's like it's loading one way and then it just sort of stops and hangs. It doesn't hang, but it doesn't seem to like be doing much. I've had bits where audio is popping in on the load screen, but then the game still takes ages to load. It can be very frustrating, especially as the game is quite fun to play. Now, I mentioned that the game is in these two halves. You have the action RPG element that works well enough, and the levels look fine. Nothing's amazing, like mind-bogglingly beautiful, but it's serviceable. The other element is this kind of overworld map, which has you moving around node to node, often kicking off story stuff. Now, unsurprisingly, for something that is based on a literary work, the actual writing of the Dwarves is probably its strongest suit. There's a full narration that tells you the story in a very kind of like, almost like an audiobook is being read to you kind of way, as well as full voice acting for all the characters. There's lots and lots of dialogue, there's descriptive text, because in this overworld sort of node-based interaction you have, which is telling you the story, there isn't a lot to look at. It's quite basic, so it's relying on its well-written dialogue and well-written story to really get you through section to section, and action point to action point, as well as some cutscene bits that do have proper sort of acting and voice acting in there as well, though it's all a bit static. Everything about the game is a little bit static about its presentation, about its storytelling, but that's okay. I still enjoyed it greatly. The big problem, though, the overworld has this nauseating problem, as you'll see in the video right now. For some reason, when you're moving the cursor around node to node, it starts to vibrate and the whole screen shakes violently, which is actually quite upsetting on the stomach, and it really does feel a bit makes you feel a bit funny, like bad VR does almost. And that's a real shame, because you're spending a lot of time looking at this, as well as the violent shaking being horrible visually. It also makes selecting the nodes really difficult sometimes, and that's far from ideal. And that's a real shame, because I think the Dwarves is a cool idea. It's got great sort of source material, the dialogue is well written, the story is engaging, the combat is fun, fun enough, but it's got problems with its loading, it's got problems with this kind of horrible graphical glitch error, and it just feels like it just requires loads more optimization and polish on Xbox One at the moment. I'm hoping this stuff will appear over time and things will improve. as things stand right now, you know, it's really holding this game back. It's certainly not a bad game, but it's not like a fabulous game either. I think with the writing and the characters and the way the combat works, it could be something really unique and stand out, but they need to fix these problems that are here right now. And I really hope they do. And I promise if I'll go back and I'll keep an eye on it, and if they do get these issues sorted out, I'll let you guys know. But right now, that's what I've got for you for the Dwarves. So, sadly, nothing better than a 3 out of 5 stars.
BXB. It's in the game.